I don't know if it's just me, but every time I walk into one of these co-working cafes, I feel like I've entered a productivity competition that nobody agreed to, but everyone is silently participating in.
That's because everyone here is trying to look like they're building the future, when in reality, most of us are just answering emails we didn't even want to receive in the first place.
How many notifications have you ignored in the last 5 minutes? Or are you still pretending you have control over them?
I stopped pretending about an hour ago. At this point, I feel like I exist to respond, not to think, and I genuinely cannot remember the last time I worked on something without 3 platforms demanding my attention.
That's modern work culture. You're technically free because you work remotely, but psychologically you're always on call, like a digital emergency room nurse.
Exactly. I wake up, and before I even brush my teeth, I check Slack, because I'm afraid that if I don't respond immediately, I'll look disengaged, and somehow that fear dictates my entire morning.
That's algorithmic pressure mixed with corporate insecurity. You're reacting instead of acting, and over time, that rewires how your brain handles focus.
I tried a no phone before coffee rule last week, and I swear my hands were reaching for my phone like it was a reflex I didn't consciously approve.
It's scary how automatic it feels. I don't even choose to check things anymore. My body just does it, like I've been programmed.
The real issue isn't that we use technology, it's that we rarely decide how to use it. Most of the time, we're responding to systems designed to keep us engaged.
My screen time report popped up yesterday and said I averaged 9 hours a day. And instead of being shocked, I just thought, well, that sounds about right.
9 hours? That's basically a full-time job on top of your actual job.
Exactly. Which means I technically have 2 jobs, my career and maintaining my digital existence.
When was the last time either of you sat somewhere without a device and let your mind wander without trying to optimize the moment?
I honestly can't remember, and that's the part that makes me uncomfortable.
Do you ever feel like AI isn't just changing work, but quietly forcing us to question what makes us valuable in the first place?
All the time. And I say that as someone who uses AI tools daily. It helps me brainstorm faster, but sometimes I can't tell if it's enhancing my creativity or slowly replacing it.
It's not replacing you, it's removing friction. But that also means it removes some of the struggle that used to define creative growth.
That's what scares me. If ideas can be generated instantly, what happens to the identity of being the creative one?
I pitched a project last month, and the client casually said, "We could probably generate something similar with AI." And I laughed in the moment, but it stuck with me.
That comment isn't about your worth. It's about cost efficiency. Businesses optimize. Humans evolve.
But evolving requires energy, and I already feel exhausted just keeping up with normal life.
Same. I keep thinking I need to upskill, learn new tools, adapt faster, but sometimes I just want to exist without upgrading myself every 6 months.
The pressure to constantly improve is the real burden of 2026. We're not just competing with people anymore. We're competing with acceleration.
That's exactly it. Acceleration. Everything feels faster, and if you slow down, you feel irrelevant.
I don't want to be irrelevant, but I also don't want to live in permanent urgency.
Then maybe the goal isn't to move faster, but to move intentionally.
That sounds wise. But how do you practice intention when your environment rewards speed?
Maybe by defining success differently, instead of accepting the default version handed to us.
That's the beginning of autonomy, choosing your metrics instead of inheriting them.
Do you ever scroll through social media and feel like everyone secretly received a manual for life that somehow skipped you?
All the time, especially when I see people my age announcing promotions, engagements, startups, and I'm just sitting there wondering if I'm behind in some invisible race.
That race isn't real, but the emotional impact absolutely is.
I posted a project yesterday, and I kept refreshing the likes like it was going to determine whether I deserve to call myself creative.
That's not shallow, that's human. Platforms are designed to make validation measurable.
And once validation becomes measurable, it becomes addictive.
I hate that I care, though. I wish I was above it.
Nobody is above it. We just curate how much we admit.
The danger isn't caring. It's equating performance with identity.
That sentence just called me out.
Sometimes I think about deleting everything, not because I hate social media, but because I don't want my sense of worth tied to engagement metrics.
That's not dramatic. That's self-protection.
But if you disappear online, Do you disappear professionally?
That's the fear, right? That visibility equals opportunity.
Maybe selective visibility is the compromise. Present, but not consumed.
There's something calming about seeing the city before it becomes loud and demanding. Like this version of it doesn't expect anything from us yet.
It's the only time the city doesn't feel like it's asking you to prove yourself.
Maybe that's what we need more of. Spaces where we're not performing.
I don't want to live reactively anymore, constantly responding to notifications, expectations, trends, and invisible comparisons.
So what does living intentionally actually look like for you?
It looks like logging off at a reasonable hour without guilt, choosing projects that align with my values instead of just my salary, and allowing myself to rest without feeling lazy.
That's a structural change, not just a mood shift.
For me, it means taking the bigger creative risks I keep postponing because I'm afraid they won't be immediately successful.
Immediate success is such a toxic benchmark.
Sustainable growth is quieter, but more stable.
I don't want to look back at this decade and realize I optimized everything except happiness.
That's my fear too, being efficient but unfulfilled.
Then let's define this year differently.
How?
Less reaction, more intention, fewer comparisons, more alignment.
There's something honest about public transportation this late at night. Nobody's performing, nobody's curating anything. Everyone just looks like themselves without the effort.
Yeah, nobody's trying to look productive on a train at midnight. This is the version of society without the LinkedIn update.
It's interesting how exhaustion strips away identity labels. In moments like this, you can't tell who's a CEO or an intern.
I think that's what I've been craving lately. To exist without constantly signaling who I am or what I do.
That signaling is exhausting. I didn't realize how much energy I spend maintaining a version of myself that's optimized for visibility.
You don't just maintain it, you monitor it. Engagement, growth, reactions. It becomes a second nervous system.
Sometimes I wonder who I'd be if nobody was watching.
Probably more relaxed.
No, I mean, fundamentally, would I choose the same ambitions, the same goals, the same lifestyle?
That's a powerful question. A lot of our aspirations are shaped by exposure, not by reflection.
So you're saying half of my ambition might just be algorithmically suggested?
Not entirely, but influence is subtle. The more you see a certain lifestyle celebrated, the more your brain interprets it as desirable.
That's terrifying and comforting at the same time.
Comforting?
Because maybe I'm not failing at life. Maybe I've just been comparing myself to a highlight reel curated by code.
There's something grounding about being surrounded by physical books. It feels like information here doesn't demand your attention. It just waits patiently.
That's such a contrast to digital content, which basically fights for your focus like it's in a survival competition.
Books don't notify you. They don't measure how quickly you consume them. They just exist.
I think I forgot what it feels like to learn slowly.
Slow feels inefficient.
Or intentional.
I used to read for hours without checking my phone. Now I struggle to finish 3 pages without distraction.
That's not lack of discipline. That's cognitive conditioning.
Attention has become a commodity.
Which means protecting it is an act of resistance.
I like that. Reading as rebellion.
Not rebellion against technology, but against fragmentation.
I want depth again. Conversations like this. Time that stretches instead of collapses.
Maybe that's why this place feels safe.
Because nothing here is trying to optimize us.
There's something brave about speaking your thoughts out loud in front of strangers without knowing how they'll react.
Especially in a world where most communication is edited before it's seen.
Raw expression feels rare now.
I forgot what unpolished creativity sounds like.
It sounds human.
That's what algorithms can't replicate: lived context.
Do you ever think we hide behind perfection because imperfection feels risky?
Absolutely. If everything is curated, vulnerability feels like exposure.
But exposure isn't the same as authenticity.
So what's the difference?
Exposure seeks reaction. Authenticity expresses without needing validation.
That's powerful.
I think I've been chasing exposure.
Awareness is the first correction.
Maybe 2026 isn't about becoming louder. Maybe it's about becoming more honest.